Good day everyone. Our topic is about theories on the origin of women's oppression.
Good day everyone. For this slide play, we are going to discuss to all of you about the theories on the origin of women's oppression. We hope that you will listen to our report up until the end of our slide video. First, I'm going to discuss to you about the women's oppression. So what is women's oppression? The low status of women is something worth wondering about. How did it happen that half of the world population is systematically discriminated? Why do women have lower status than men? Every person deserves the same rights, regardless of his or her gender. Aside from the basic rights one merits due to humanity, one must also give value to the traditional role of women. Women are crucial in food production and preparation. The myriad problems that women and girls experience in today's society will be the focus of efforts to eradicate gender oppression against them. Despite the historical victories that women's rights activists fought for, equality has not yet been attained. According to Webster, gender oppression is unjust or cruel exercise of authority or power, and gender is discrimination is attitudes, conditions, or behaviors that promote stereotyping of social roles based on gender. Still today, women are subjected to rape, violence, objectification, oppressions, and discrimination. There is a need for a significant change in perception as a social issue that encompasses women and human rights because it is frequently misrepresented as a woman's concern. The victimization of women and girls in society takes many different forms. For aging provided, 90% of an individual's dietary requirements while hunting provided only 10%. 15 women bear children and for the most part raise their children from infancy up to their early years. Women are also a source of the cultural and emotional education of children, teaching them how to navigate the social order. Their primary task in many cultures is taking care of the family. They were also the first healers given their extensive knowledge of herbs. It is not only the women's roles that makes them important, it is also their biology. Women bear part of the essential DNA that make us humans 16%. At some point in all Asian cultures, perhaps even 9% women were held mediators to the gods.
Now let us talk about the goddess of worship to God to worship. One prominent theory on the oppression of women concerns the shift of paradigms from ancient civilizations that worship the earth goddess to the male suppression of this goddess. Indeed, mysterious woman-centric cults existed prior to the phallocentric cults. According to Miles, women were less valued and their status were threatened with the expansion of phallus worship around 1500s BC. He explains that early civilizations' first great gods were women. There is evidence of worship of a mother goddess figure 5,000 years ago in the major civilizations of the world. This mother figure was celebrated and venerated for her fertility. Because of this ancient observance, it is believed that in the past, women were respected more than men. As supported by the mother goddess, in some cultures, men who wanted to be persons of power emulated women. In the Philippines, they had to take on the character and aspect of a woman. And in some more ancient civilizations, men's penises were carved out into vaginas to seize the powers of the goddess. These early social orders were matriarchies that were characterized as egalitarian and that allowed for the cooperation between men and women in most areas of life. According to the Society for Classical Studies, goddess worship, Marian veneration, and the female gender. To compare Marian cult and images to those of ancient goddesses is a well-established route into investigations of Christianity's holiest female figure. Scholars of the ancient Mediterranean world have also long registered a robust connection between goddesses and social definitions of the female gender. From Braces, fair as Aphrodite to Hellenistic queens, Roman empresses, and ordinary women. Numerous studies have explained how female gender roles and qualities were imagined, defined, and articulated through reference to goddesses such as Aphrodite or Venus, Persephone, Demeter or Ceres, and Tyche or Fortuna. This theory of early goddess-based social organization stipulates that the worship of the mother goddess lasted for as long as people experienced the development of life as a mystery and a gift. Humans eventually modified how they perceived and lived life. It was believed that when people began to place more emphasis on the empirical than the mythical, a significant paradigm shift had taken place. This fresh perspective and cause and consequence offered a different perspective on the world. The need for cause and effect understanding increased as people's interest in using agriculture to control food production increased. When this information was put to use, male recognized that they contributed to fertility as well because their seed was necessary for producing kids. The phallus cults began to prosper and the preeminence of the male and his organ began to assert itself. Somehow, ancient societies concluded that the source of life was the penis and not the womb, because life was not seen as something that emerged mysteriously from the womb but was planted there by the male organ. Men appropriated for themselves the position of power in the universe. Thus, by 1500 BC, the worship of the male organ had expanded noticeably and grown as a result, due to the belief that males possessed the creative power and women served as only the receptacle of life in which the seed of man formed. Male power in civilizations increased as a result of this development. Women were no longer viewed as active partners, but rather as passive mothers. Inequality expanded along with the rise in masculine authority. Men only valued themselves as strong, creative individuals. Additionally, they did not want the man's dominance to be supplanted by the woman's strength. It could explain why men started treating women particularly badly. Men believed women were passive life incubators under their control. The theory of the mother goddess cult seems highly speculative. However, Miles shows historical evidence of this cult through the appearance of female deities, their prevalence, as well as their destruction. The mother goddess worship is not covered in courses on modern history, since history has typically been written by the victor, or in this instance, men. It is claimed that the erasure of this belief from history was caused by this: the denial of the truth that women not only had power and equal rights in ancient civilizations, but also had remarkable authority, which led to the loss of women's power. The relevance of a female deity is highlighted in numerous religions. She is viewed as the supreme aspect that creates life, fertility, and nature. The mother goddess is typically an embodiment of the earth, and in paganism, the universe's creator. She is linked to many facets of life, including conception and reproduction, nature and earthwork, the family and the protection of children, as well as culture, language, and communication.
Let's move on to Eve and the other. Western religion also influenced the negative perception of women, as evidenced in the Judeo-Christian story of Eve being the first woman with its many mythic variations. So, based from the story of Eve and Pandora, women were perceived as the cause of the downfall of mankind because of their weakness. So, If you remembered clearly the story of Adam and Eve, they were given a good life in the Garden of Eden. They were warned not to eat fruit from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. However, a wily animal usually taken as a devil cloak seduced Eve to take fruit from the tree and share it to Adam. It says that the snake seduced Eve because it has perceived that she was the weaker one, or because she was more open to listening. So whatever the reason is, Adam and Eve were banished by God to live outside the garden. That's why it says that Eve had caused downfall to humanity because she had listened to the snake, or because she had disobeyed the command of God not to take fruit from the tree. In the story of Eve, it shows how woman had deprived all humankind the abundance that the Garden of Eden had to offer. A woman's folly had brought suffering to man. Ang katanghan daw ng isang babae, just like what Eve did, ang nagdulot ng kahirapan o pagdurusa sa mga tao. The same story template is presented in the story of Pandora, but it is just in Greek mythology. Pandora was the first woman created by Zeus. Pandora was made to be the most beautiful and desirable woman given to Epimetheus as a gift. But Zeus made Pandora foolish and idle. That's why it says that in the both story of Eve and Pandora, a woman had perceived to be the cause of the downfall of mankind, not just because of their weaknesses, but because also of their foolishness. Based also from the story of Eve and Pandora, women were casted as the bearer of suffering because she was weak-willed and could not be trusted. She could not be allowed to be left alone lest she caused some trouble. Women were the catalyst for men to lose their reason and responsibility. Therefore, men convinced themselves that women were unfit or incapable to run governments, set standards for literature and commerce, be priests, or be left to their own devices. The misogynistic treatment of women by Christianity, for instance, is puzzling. Jesus Christ was clearly a person who believed in the capabilities of women and promoted their place as leaders among his disciples. The fact that some of them even became his closest friends and followers empowered many women to become leaders of the early church. They even served as deacons. However, St. Paul in 1 Timothy chapter 2 verse 12 said that he would not suffer a woman to teach in the church or have authority over men. He also stated that women should be silent in church and should be subject to men. In the 1 Timothy chapter 2 verse 12, St. Paul says that women are not to have the role or to have the teaching authority in the church. He is saying that the church should not recognize women as those having authority in the church regarding matters of doctrine. The same principle also emphasizes under 1 Corinthians chapter 11. Women are to always act under authority in the congregation, demonstrated in Corinthian culture by the wearing of a head covering. To be under authority is the principle, not teaching is the application. St. Thomas, a recognized thinker, shared his notion about women. The passage that he shared is an expression of the law perception of the men of the church on women. Others see woman as the consort of the devil, the beguiler of man, and the potential cause of every human misery by offending the holy with their impurity. It is unknown if Eve and Pandora were the first expressions of the distrust of woman, but they centrally embody this disdain for the deceitful, dangerous, and flighty character of woman. People are inclined to believe that women are dangerous and must be controlled, if not suppressed. This belief is especially true of their sexuality. In numerous and significant instances, women have been referred to us as the sex that seduces man and makes him lose orientation toward the true good, which is the eternal life beyond the flesh. It is puzzling why some of the world's religions are so biased against women. The fear theory offers some explanations for it. It speculates that male supremacy does more than imply female inferiority. It demands it. How then was that demand brought home to each and every woman? The first step had to be the eradication of all traces of woman's previous superiority. This meant the onslaught on the worship of the mother goddess, on her devotees, and by extension a woman's right to rule or command. Thus, the vicious suppression of women in many of the world's culture can be explained. Religion is one major aspect that contributed to this suppression, as evident in the negative traits attributed to women in many religious texts. A number of influential works of world literature also contain references to the beguiling beauty of women that distracts men from their good reason in their true work.
A shift production. Over the past few decades, there has been a significant shift in the way in which production is viewed in relation to gender in society. Traditionally, many societies have been production as being the domain of men, with women being relegated to domestic tasks such as cooking and cleaning. However, this has slowly begun to change as women have to begin to play a larger role in the workforce. One of the key drivers of this shift has been the changing economic landscape, as more and more jobs have become knowledge-based. Physical strength and manual labor have become less important in many industries. This has opened up new opportunities for women to participate in the workforce, as they are often just as capable of performing these kinds of jobs as men are. In addition to this, there has also been a growing awareness of the social and economic benefits of gender equality. Many companies and governments have recognized that diversity in the workforce can lead to greater innovation, better decision making, and improved morally. This has led to a push for greater
oppression is often justified by essentialist reason. Essentialist arguments assert that the oppression of women is due to the nature of their gender or their socially constructed rules. Some people think of women as the lesser sex because of their biological makeup. So these are the biological makeup of women. Women are smaller and less bulky, cannot become good warriors, laborers, or athletes, fundamentally built for childbearing and child rearing. Not only their bodies are weak, their minds are perceived weak as well, assumed incapable of abstract logical thinking, such that they are believed less capable of scientific and other highly academic endeavors. Also come with natural impurities because they bleed on a monthly basis, unsuitable for leadership in meaningful participation in religious rituals, and also the primary source of the human's fall from paradise, thus cannot be trusted in building a better world for mankind. Essentially, women's moral and psychological makeup is blamed for their unworthiness or great acts. Oppression of women is made possible because of existing systems that orient people toward oppressing women, not because women are fundamentally weaker or flawed.